Hi everyone, welcome to day 2 of non-chronological reports. Thank you so much to everyone who has submitted their work. It has been amazing. I'm really looking forward to see what you find today. We are going to do another lesson on features, but this time we are looking at the language of non-chronological reports, and we are also going to be reading chapter 2 of our story. So I would like you please to make sure you have all of your things ready. On the next slide, we will go through what you need for this lesson. So for today's lesson, you are going to need an exercise book or line paper, a pen, a pencil, a ruler, chapter 2 to do of A Bridge on Fire, multiple choice to do for chapter 2, and of course your concentration. Okay, so welcome to our Terrific Tuesday lesson for English. Now, you have all of your stuff ready, so you are all organised and ready to start your lesson. Today we are going to read through the next chapter of our book, and we are going to do our longer comprehension question for chapter 2. In writing, we're going to be looking in more detail at chronological reports and the language that is used. But first, I would like you to read through this quote from Winston Churchill. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So no matter what you do in your life, even if it's success, or even if you have some days where you don't do as well as you wanted to, the fact that you are persevering and keeping on going is what matters. Okay, so keep it up, keep going, keep working hard, and your success will come. So we are going to start with our guided reading, and I would like you to write the date, Tuesday the 19th of May 2020, and the guided reading LI is to be able to find evidence in a text. Okay, so we are going to begin with reading chapter 2 of The Bridge on Fire, which is set in World War II, remember? We started reading it yesterday where we were introduced to our character of Kat, who had been selected to go on a special mission for the army. And today we're going to learn a little bit more about her. I would like you to also do the multiple choice to do as well, and then when you are done we will go on to the open-ended questions. So pause the video here and please go and complete those tasks. Make sure you submit so that I know that you have done them, and I will see you shortly. Okay, I hope you did well on that and it wasn't too difficult for you, and I hope you really enjoyed the chapter. I actually really want to read on with the story now, because as she has just jumped out of the plane, I really want to see what happens to her. So here are your questions. You've got 5 questions there. At what time was Kat told to blow up the bridge? Why was Ota so keen for Mr. Hitler to be stopped? The road the bridge is on is surrounded by dense foliage, perfect for hiding out. Why is dense foliage perfect for hiding out? Number 4, what happens if you're not? Thought Kat, anxiety biting at her nerves. What does the phrase anxiety biting at her nerves tell you about the way Kat was feeling at this point? And number 5, Kat took a deep breath and jumped. What do you think was going through Kat's mind at this point? So pause the video here. Remember to answer in full sentences, and we will go through the answers once you are done. Okay, so number 1, at what time was Kat told to blow up the bridge? She was told to blow up the bridge at 10 p.m. Number 2, why was Ota so keen for Mr. Hitler to be stopped? He felt that Hitler had more dangerous weapons that could cause a huge amount of destruction. Number 3, the road the bridge is on is surrounded by dense foliage, perfect for hiding out. Why is dense foliage perfect for hiding out? So basically, dense foliage is where you have lots of bushes and leaves, and so Kat will be able to camouflage herself within that area, and she can easily hide behind them. As it is, she's a teenager, so she'll probably be quite small, so she could actually fit under the bushes and hide. So that's why dense foliage is perfect for her. Number 4, what happens if you're not? Thought Kat, anxiety biting at her nerves. So what does the phrase mean? Now it means that she was extremely nervous and worried about the mission, but she was trying to be brave. Deep inside though, she was probably a nervous wreck, really worried about what was going to happen. Number 5, Kat took a deep breath and jumped. What do you think was going through Kat's mind at this point? Well, she was scared of something going wrong with her parachute jump and probably terrified of what might happen on her mission. So she took a deep breath and she probably thought, right, whatever will be will be. I am terrified, but I'll do my best. Okay, so remember for that question number 5, it is more about your opinion, about what you think is on her mind at that point. Please make sure you are ticking and crossing, correcting as necessary, and email us at the Year 6 email address, which is at the top of the slide. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our English lesson, and I would like you to write the date and the LI, which is to understand the language features of a non-chronological report. And please can you underline, although I haven't underlined, I'm very sorry, but please can you underline that for me in your book. So pause the video while you underline. Okay, so as we learnt yesterday, in a non-chronological report, we must ensure we have the following features: pictures and diagrams, main information, present tense, third person, an introduction, and subheading. So these are the key things that we definitely have to have in order to make our writing a non-chronological report. But we are going to look in a bit more detail now at the language that will be used in order to make our report even better. Okay, so if you need to remind yourself of the features, you may pause the video here and make notes about these in your books before moving on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is look at how non-chronological reports are organized. So they're set out in paragraphs. They have an introduction which provides a context about the topic, so it introduces the topic to the reader. They contain facts. Most of the content of the report is giving information. Remember, that was the main purpose of a non-chronological report, which is to give information, but information that people can trust, so it needs to be facts. And they all end with a summary of key points at the end in the conclusion. Okay, so when we're writing our non-chronological report, that is how we need to set out our work. Okay, so most reports have a series of paragraphs on different aspects of the subject, and related facts are put together under a subheading. So if you were doing World War II, one of your sections might be how World War II began, and you will be putting all of that information under that subheading. And then the next one might be how did Hitler get defeated, and then you put all of the information in there. Then the next one might be what was the impact on Great Britain during World War II, and then you put that information in there. So it's about working out the different sections and the information that you need for each one. Okay, the first sentence of each paragraph introduces the main theme, and the other sentences add details. So for example, if I was doing a paragraph about the impact of World War II on Great Britain, I could start with after the war, Great Britain suffered, even despite winning the war, Great Britain suffered a lot of loss, and the death of many soldiers impacted on families and on the economy in the UK. Okay, and then we can then go into more detail about how that impacted, because there wasn't enough men to go back to the industries and to the factories, and then the women had to often go in and into the workplace instead, and then you can go into much more detail. And we need to also include tables, pictures, diagrams, and bulleted lists, because they add more information and in a different variety. So instead of having a list of statistics, you might put it on a nice table, or you might want to put it into a nice fact box, just so that people can use it and the reader can look at it and say, oh wow, that's really good bite-sized information that I can kind of just take things from. Okay, so lots of different ways that you can present information in a report. So pause the video here and please make some notes about this slide. Okay, so now we're going to look at some language features. So reports are written in formal style, and they are written in the third person and in present tense, as we already discussed yesterday. You have to make sure your facts are accurate. Like I said, people might be using your report in order to inform them for homework, or for maybe writing their own reports about things. So it's really, really important that your facts are true. Technical vocabulary must be used. it's really important to use technical vocabulary because it makes your report look more authentic, and the reader will probably feel like the writer understands the subject. So if you're using the technical vocabulary, then it really makes your writing more formal and more factual. Make it suitable for your intended audience. Okay, so remember, if you're writing a report about computer games, for example, then you know that you're going to be writing for people that are interested in that topic. So make sure it's written in a way that will attract them to want to read your work. So you can do that by making sure that you have an angle on your writing. Okay, so focus on the key information that will be the most interesting to your readers. Don't just include everything that you need to do. So pick out the key points that are the most useful. Use descriptive language so that you're giving detail. Make sure it's not just a list of facts, because then it's pretty boring. I think describing, adding a few other little bits in there like fact boxes will really help. Show contrast between your paragraphs. Bring out the similarities and differences of your subject. So you can actually show the good and bad. So if we're doing World War II, then you might focus on Hitler and then focus on the Allies, which were the good team, the good side. And you might be able to create a kind of good and bad side in your work and make the reader actually think, yes, the writer is trying to entertain me as well as inform me. And the last one, add comments or questions, relate the subject to the reader. So you might want to include rhetorical questions in your writing, and you might want to also use in your conclusion some personal anecdotes or personal comments about the war, maybe to help your reader understand a little bit more. Okay, so pause here, make some notes about that information. Okay, so this is what I want you to do, please. Can you first find the language features in this text? I can identify, so these are the things that I've seen already: technical language, clear paragraphs, present tense, accurate facts, third person, selection of relevant information to suit the reader. So out of those things, I would like you first, from my list, to find examples of each of those things. So I want you to find an example of technical language, and an example of present tense, and an example of an accurate fact, and a third person, and an example of a selection of relevant information. Okay, so I want you to first do this in your book. So find examples of the things that I have identified in the text, and I want you to give examples of each one. You can maybe do 2 examples of each one. That will be really good. Okay, pause the video here and then you'll move on to your final task. Okay, so the final task is for you to work out what additional features have been added here. So not only are we looking at the language features, but we're also looking at the original features that we talked about, like diagrams, descriptive language. We're looking at labels for things. We are looking at a variety of information and presentation and layout. So I want you to make some notes of examples of different things in this extract of a report as well. So refer back to your lists, the ones we made yesterday and the ones you've made today, and see if you can find some more examples of that in this text. And please email me your work. Let me know how you got on. If you have any questions, you may email me on the Year 6 email address and I will respond to you as soon as possible. I look forward to receiving your work and I will speak to you tomorrow.